Too often, moral clarity has been traded for clicks and truth for trend. That is why today's conversation is so critical, and why it is an honor to present to you an extraordinary panel of individuals whose insights are shaped not by theory, but by lived experience. Mosab Hassan Yousef, also known worldwide as the Green Prince, was born into the very heart of Hamas leadership. But in a courageous and life-altering decision, he chose to secretly work with Israeli intelligence, fighting terror from within and saving countless innocent lives. Today, Mosab stands as one of the most fearless and authoritative voices, exposing the brutal truth behind Hamas and other terror organizations, their ideology, their tactics, and their global threat. His insights are not just powerful, they're unmatched. Luis Al, who I'm very happy to introduce as a former hostage, was kidnapped by Hamas from his home in southern Israel on October 7th. He endured 5 months of captivity deep inside Gaza before being rescued in a daring IDF operation in Rafah in February 2024. His personal testimony offers invaluable insight into Hamas's treatment of hostages and the enduring suffering of those still held captive today. And of course, last but certainly not least, Dr. Dan Diker, president of the Jerusalem Center for Security and Foreign Affairs, is a leading expert on political warfare and strategic influence operations against Israel. Dr. Diker has authored 6 books on the BDS movement and has written about the Iranian regime's ideology and its proxy funding and military strategizing for Hamas and Hezbollah. Dr. Diker has led initiatives on securing defensible borders for Israel and fostering normalized commercial and social ties with Palestinians and Gulf Arab countries. Dr. Diker is also a former Secretary General of the World Jewish Congress and research fellow at the International Institute for Counterterrorism at Reichman University. Thank you all again for joining us today. I'd like to invite Dr. Diker up to the stage for his opening remarks.
I would call this morning a morning of freedom, because we are so blessed to have Louis with us, looking wonderful and having much to teach us. You know, what I want to share with you is that the Jerusalem Center for Security and Foreign Affairs is the only policy and diplomacy center in Israel that has the full range of Middle Easterners working. We have Arab scholars, Druze scholars, Kurdish scholars, Jewish scholars, that we feel, and I say as an American Israeli, the importance of serving as a political cultural bridge between the Near East and the West and the rest of the global community. And I say that having been here for 36 years working and really trying to ask the right questions. One of the biggest mistakes, and I just speak from the point of view of the West, that a former professor of mine and of Fiamma Nierenstein, the former deputy president of the Italian Senate, of the former deputy president of the Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee of the Italian Senate, said to both of us numerous times that the tendency of people outside the Middle East, particularly in the West, is to what he called to mirror or to project the way we think, the way we understand, the way we strategize on the region, which creates a real difficulty of understanding. So what we try to do at the Jerusalem Center for Security and Foreign Affairs is to ask the right questions. And in the Middle East, as many of you know, Excellencies, every day is just full of questions and more questions and more questions, not only because of the speed of light in which things happen. You look at the New York Times, you look at your local newspapers, and things are changing as if yesterday never happened. And so we'd like to be your home away from home here in Israel. We are based in a beautiful historic building in Jerusalem. We have really the fullest range of experts, as I mentioned before, and as well as people who came from the intelligence world, the world of the world of Islam and the Middle East. And we'd be very delighted for all of you to be in very close touch with us and to read our daily research and our diplomacy initiatives as well. Let me just end before I hand the podium back to Sarah to start having our discussion with Louis and with Mosab, is to say that one of the questions we asked ourselves about the October 7th Al-Aqsa flood, that was the brand name that the Hamas gave to October 7th. And I raise that issue because the vast majority of, I think, time is spent on tactical issues. Is Israel going to go into Gaza now? Are they not going to go in? Is Hamas going to release 10 hostages? Is it an all-for-all deal? We're really focusing on the logistical, tactical, moment-by-moment developments as opposed to understanding, and here Mosab is a great teacher, what is the religious, ideological structure of in this case, of Hamas? How are they thinking? Why did they call it the Al-Aqsa flood? And if you start to look into the structure of that, the ideological and religious structure, we find an extraordinary similarity between what bin Laden said after the 9/11 atrocities about jihad as a call from his point of view for the Muslim world to attack America. And we look at the folks of the Al-Qaeda folks at 7/7, the worst atrocity, the worst terror atrocity in the UK since the Second World War. And you see the same language being used by the 7/7 attackers in London. And then I looked at Madrid, what happened in 2004 on the train. And you see the same language being used. So all of a sudden you have sort of an ideological through line that really requires us to ask a lot of questions. And that's what we're doing here today, is to ask those questions. And we have two wonderful teachers, Mosab and Louis, to share their perspectives, their different perspectives on a very, very complex ideological phenomenon called the Hamas.
Louis, first of all, on a personal note, I just want to say that we are so happy to have you here back home, safe in Israel. And before we start talking about your experience, you and Mosab met for the first time this morning, and that looked like such an emotional moment. Can you tell me, Mosab and Louis, what that was like for both of you, that intimate moment?
Hello? For me, it's important to be together. Why they give me the real hope is possible to be two people like people and to do something together for the future and for all countries. For me, it's very important to think about the humanity and no politics. And I like to be here with you together.
First of all, good morning to everyone. At first, I didn't know who Louis was. And I think he's the man of the hour because he's representing the hostages, which represents humanity, this handful of people that have been dehumanized, demonized, and the world did not make them into a priority, unfortunately. They became just the victim of everybody, not only Hamas. So many countries betrayed those hostages. And it's very important that Louis has the courage and the power to come and represent their case to the world. It's not an easy thing. Maybe some of you can see my anger and my frustration. On one hand, my family is involved in this major crime. It's not only crime against Israelis, it's a crime against humanity. And I'm trying to reverse the wheel of time, the wheel of history. And I don't know if I will succeed, but at least he's here, he's with us. And I hope that soon we will have the remaining hostages free and alive. Every moment, every day that goes by, that means that we are losing some of them. We saw just recently skin on bone. And the world still in denial, and I cannot understand it. Is it because they are Jewish? Is it because they are Israelis? We saw how Hamas kidnapped them from their living rooms, from their backyards. They took toddlers, infants. Louis is not the only one who was taken into Gaza. 5 members of his family as well. And I'm very happy to know that all of them are among us and they are alive and they are well. Thank you for your spirit. Thank you for your courage. And I hope to see the remains of the hostages, the remaining hostages, returning home soon.
Thank you. Yes.
Luis, I'd like to hear a little bit from you of your experience that day. Do you mind sharing with us, the audience, what that morning of October 7th was like and the moments Hamas terrorists broke into your home?
Okay. Everything started in 6:29 in the morning. We start to listen the first missiles coming on the Tseva Dome. It's a red color. It's the alarm. But for us, it's something normally. The last 20 years, it's happened every time, every Saturday, in the middle of the week. And for us, it's a normal life. It's terrible to say that, but we're living with that. And we say it's other Saturday. Going everybody to the self room. We listen the boom and waiting 10 minutes and continues the life. This morning was different. They don't stop, they continues, and red color, red color, red color, and Kipat Barcel is going, and we listen that fly, and we say, we don't understand what happened. We start to say something different. And we open the television and we see in the TV the Sderot, the city, and we see the truck, Toyota, white Toyota, they going and shooting to everywhere. I think in this moment, what these men do it? Why is not going inside? Why they make the film? It's crazy. Now I know it's good. Why we know what happened this day exactly. After with the Kibbutz Be'eri, but what's a movie from up looking terrorists going and shooting, and I don't understand what is so difficult to understand in this moment what happened. And we say it's a movie. When they doing this movie? But after we say Netanyahu say we are in the war, and we start to understand it happened something more from every day. And in this moment, we start to listen shoots into the kibbutz. We go into the self room, but it's not possible to close. And we start to listen. They broke in the windows and coming into the house, and they shooting all the doors. And Arabic all the time. You listen to. And Clara, she's a garden teacher, and she say to everybody to be together on the floor in the side. And this is what we're doing. And for this we are in the life where the terrorists coming and shooting, but the guns went from here, this angle, and they coming and shooting, and all the shots was up of the heart, and we was on the floor, and we are lucky. We start to say, stop shoot, and they stop. And in this moment, I start to take us from how it's possible outside 1-1, and was all the house full of terrorists in everywhere. They putting down all the clothes from the was on the beds, full of terrorists. Where are you looking? And we don't understand what happened. And they start to ask the keys from the car. We say in Spanish. We don't talking. We don't say nothing. We don't understand what they want. And they take us outside from the house to the limit of the kibbutz. And we see people in the bicycles, and we don't understand. They are terrorists. They take bicycles, telephones, everything. No from Hamas. First, normally people, they coming, civilians from Gaza, they come into the kibbutz, was everything open, and just try to take everything. And we don't understand how it's possible. And in this moment, they put out from the kibbutz Fernando, Clara, and me. We was 5 members from the same family. But Gabriela and Mia, they say stop, and they wait we was outside from the kibbutz, and they stay inside, and coming in transit in white Toyota, and take the 2 girls outside. And we don't understand what happened there. All the cars was on fire, and people crying and shooting, and terrible situation. We was in shock, and we really don't understand what happened. Only my character, I start to look everything what happened around, and to look the places where we were, everything, the color of the window, or this kind of things. One tree, and to know exactly where I am. Now we know the white Toyota was going outside from the gate in the kibbutz, and there are cameras, and was exactly 11:22 in the morning when they going out. And they coming in the same route where we was standing, and they take us to the same car, and we was together, all the 5 members of the family. We was sitting on every kind of guns, bombs, everything was there, and we're sitting on this, and 5 terrorists with 2 guns coming up to us like we was the floor. They all stand on us, and was one gun from here, and the second shooting all the time and say Allahu Akbar. I'm very happy. And this situation, we start to go to the border and continues until was near to the Khan Yunis. We are 3 kilometers from Khan Yunis, the kibbutz. when was very near to the city, was a group of young people with masmerot. את יודעת איך אומרים? masmerot.
Pliers.
It's bigger. They do it like that, and this looking like it's coming to say to kill us. But they stop shooting, say Allahu Akbar, and continues. When we was in Khan Yunis, between the houses, they stop, they give us to go down, and we see a little gate, and from there coming other terrorists. The terrorists was the Toyota going back to Israel, and there was a tunnel. They put us into the tunnel. Was 2 terrorists in the beginning, 2 in the middle, and 2 in the last. And we were inside, and we start to run. It was very dark. We was not shoes, which is the girls with pajama, and we was with a little pants. And we start to go into the tunnel, like maybe 40 meters under the ground. I start to go. In this moment, they ask us if we are Jews. They say, Jews? And we say, Argentine, Messi. It's not help to us. But we tried. And continues to be there. We was into the tunnel like 5 hours. It's continuous raining. They pushing us all the time. And don't stop. Excuse me.
He's a busy man.
Can answer. Yeah, I know. I listen here.
The stage is yours.
Listen here. And the telephone is closed, but I and in one moment we're sitting in the side, and they start to take everyone one by one. I was the last one, and I don't understand what's happened or where they taking everyone. When it was my turn, I see like later, but in the side, and we try to go up. So one hand, one leg. It will be very difficult. If someone knows what's possible to do it, they doing like a packet, and they put the same with the guns. They doing a packet of the guns and putting, and like that is making out. Outside it was the kitchen house, and we sitting there, and they give clothes, women clothes, to the girls. Only see the eyes, no? How do you call the clothes, the woman clothes? The burqa, okay? And the boys know nothing, and they pulled us one by one into one car. Was the woman's and me in the back. Fernando was in the front. One of the terrorists coming with the guns to Fernando, to the face, like that, and take the door. Don't close the door, catch the door. And one driver, and we start to go into the city. We don't know where we was in this moment. Now I know we was in Rafah. And we start in Khan Yunis, and we're going outside in Rafah from the tunnel. They go in circles, and I look all the time, and I see the same building. How many times? And they say, I understand they doing circles to us. And in one moment, we're going into the gate. Was all the time is one by one to the second floor in the building, in the family house. But the terrorists, they change, and we start to see new faces we don't see before, and we decide to put names to everyone in Spanish, and was possible for us to talk about everyone, and they don't know, and this is what we're doing. And the first one, we say the boss of the house. I was really the boss of the house, but in that moment we don't know. And he coming to us and he say, "Don't be nervous. It's okay. We just take you for to change you with the prisoners in Israel, and we're doing to change that. And I will look for you." In that moment, I don't understand nothing. Well, what he need to look, but after I understand good. The other four, it was 5 terrorists looking for us all the time. And this one was looking for us to give water, food, or to try to ask, you need something? And they talk with us a little bit. All the information we have was from this one. And the other 4 was all the time no good to us. They try to do everything to take us, to catch us, and it was no nice situation. But the first one, the boss of the house, they tried to be okay with us. And from this day, in the beginning was food, and they coming with food for everyone, and we eating together. But after coming with the potatoes and give to Clara, the big woman, she must know to cook. She looked the potato, looked to the terrorists and say, "If you want to eat, Luis." And they give me the potatoes and I go to the kitchen. And from this day, I cook breakfast, lunch, dinner for everyone. The 5 terrorists and the 5 members of the family. And I say in the beginning was everything, but when the army coming to Gaza and they stopped the electricity and no was fresh air, no was cheese, no was, slowly no was food. And the last days, Fernando and me was eating only 1 pita in the day, half for Fernando, half for me. And we was eating a little piece of the pita sometimes for to be something in the stomach all the day. And water, more of the time, the boss of the house, they give us a bottle of water every day. The last day, no every day. No was possible sometimes. But we was lucky. The girls going outside after 53 days in the convent in the first time. But Fernando and me stay 129 days. When is coming the FDI, the commando from Israel, and they took us back to Israel in the middle of the night. This was very, I am very happy they happened. The days to be in Gaza is not easy for anyone. And the time is not going. And we try to do things. We was the family, and we try to help 1 second when someone start to cry or to feel no good, the second coming and do something for him. We was talking about all the life, with histories from the life, and we try to do games, to do something together, or to walk. But the most important is we are in the life. The commando take us back, and we try to do everything for the hostages in Gaza already. We was 129 days, and for me is to think how much time is going from this day. And it's people over 50 people all in Gaza. It's terrible. It's terrible for the families. And I try to give hope to everyone, to the families. I come every Saturday to the square. And it's not finished. And it's what we try to do is to finish with this how quickly is possible. Thank you.
Luis, thank you very much for sharing with us your experience and the urgency of the hostage crisis. I'd like to also invite on stage Dr. Dan Diker.
Oops.
Gentlemen, thank you all for joining me this morning. Mosab, I want to start with you. When you finish drinking water, of course. But sound
Well, we're going to be raising money for a new sound system. Raise your hand if you're no, it's $5. Pay your $10 to NetSense. The $10, it'll be your name. It'll be name.
No, I have a better idea. Now Carlton has degraded 1 star.
Yeah, 1-star hot stuff. No, I will say I'd like to thank, by the way, our friends at the Carlton Hotel, Yossi Nabi, the general manager. This is really a wonderful venue. We've known, I'm sure many of you do know the hotel, but they're very kind to post us today. And Yossi will take
There we are. Thank them one more time.
Yeah, thank very, very good charity, cool, wonderful talent that we really appreciate everything that Yossi has done. Diker, the owner of the hotel, dear friends, and really recommended more of it. Just I wanted to mention one of our senior board members here, Hilt Date, to sit up. You may want to raise your hand for a second. You did their best. Yeah, I just want to mention Hilton is one of the most outstanding leaders of the British Jewish community, and spends half his time here and some time in the UK. So we have very a broad range of people, so a broad range of continents and backgrounds. So just a testimony to where we are. Here we are in the mini United Nations here today, and great to have you all.
Can you hear us now? Okay, great. All right. Mosab, I want to start with you. You know Hamas intimately. I'm curious to hear from you. What was your immediate reaction on October 7th? And were you surprised by the scale and brutality of the attack? Or did it align with what you've always known about Hamas?
it's important to know that I left Hamas many, many years ago, and I fought against them for about 10 years. I did everything within my ability to sabotage their operation. And I didn't do it out of hatred. It was out of responsibility, even though it was suicidal. Because got caught at that time, especially during the second intifada, it meant death. So, and I had my reasons. And we don't have the time to go through all my motives. But most importantly, what I believed, that I couldn't go wrong by saving a human life. It was not about Israel. It was not about Palestinians. The suicide bombers, when they targeted civilians indiscriminately. They did not say, okay, this is Jewish, we kill him, and this is an American or other nationality. They blew up buses, markets, universities, synagogues, beaches, nightclubs. More than 100 for those who weren't here during the second intifada. More than 100 suicide bombing attack. So we were in the middle of this mess. On one hand, my father was very, very busy to inflict more pain and more destruction on Israel and on the Jewish people. From my perspective, every time we stopped suicide bombing attack, I knew that we saved human lives. And that was my moral compass. I didn't need to justify my work. And the fact that I'm talking about it right now, not to critic myself of any, I just want you to that I didn't start yesterday, and my journey did not start after October 7th. 15 years of fighting against Hamas ideology and against Hamas operation. Knowing that if Hamas succeeded in destroying Israel, they will come after the Arabs. They will come after other Muslim sects. They will come after the West. Because jihad has no limit. Even though Hamas has the Palestinian cause as a device. This is how they guarantee the continuation by the name of nationalism. But at their essence, it's a religious war. From one side. When I say religious war, I don't mean religious war between the Jews and the Muslims. Or at least between Israel and jihadists. It's only one way. And that's an Islamic jihadist assault on the Jewish people for being Jewish. Since childhood, this is my condition. And of course, some people may argue and say, okay, you belong to an extreme Muslim family. This is not the rest of the Muslim world. But I can argue back that it's found in the Holy Scriptures of Islam, in the Quran itself. The only religion, unfortunately, that points out other religions by the name and incite violence against people. More than 42 times Israel is mentioned in the Quran. You will not find in the Bible even one time mentioning the Muslims or any other religious scripture
I have studied Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Christianity, Islam, and the divisions and subdivisions within this, the major religions. In fact, I practiced those religions. I've been to synagogues, I've been to temples, I've been to mosques, I've been to churches. I met with the people, I lived with the people, I built bridges. And on that authority today I speak. Many can find it funny to just accuse and discredit, say this is just a small minority in the world. And I say, no, the problem is much bigger than this. Unfortunately, the denial continues. And this is part of my frustration and why I lost my patience after October 7th. Because I have war that Hamas is going to drag the entire region into a bloodbath. And they succeeded. And today, instead of learning the lesson, instead of getting united to fight this disease, that is actually, it's not only anti-Israel, it's anti-civilization. If I go to India, we have an Islamic problem. And if the Indian president talk about Islam, they label him as Islamophobic. If I go to Europe, we have an Islamic problem. Most of the religious radical terrorism is coming mostly by the name of Islam and by the name of Allah. On October 7, Hamas did not kill innocent people and kidnap innocent people by the name of nationalism or by the name of Palestine. They killed people by the name of Allah. Allah does not like anyone who is not obedient to him. And of course, many can say, okay, this is, you can find violence in the Bible, you can find violence in every religion. But I say the unique situation in Islam, that it's legislation, it's a way of worship, it's a way of obedience. Conquering the world is a mission. And even though there are moderate Muslims and peaceful Muslims, but to dominate earth, which belongs to Allah, is an Islamic mission. And all it took, 19 terrorists on 9/11, to turn the globe into chaos. And up to this point, every time I go to the airport, I know that I can credit it to Muslim terrorists. And in fact, if I want to go even prior to that, thanks to the Palestinians who hijacked commercial airlines, blow them up on the runways, kidnapped people. And since then, we had to take extreme security measures. We had to force billions of people around the globe to go through crazy security measures. Why? Because we have a small minority of maniacs that now everybody is living the consequences of their violence. And if you just look back, what happened after 9/11, how the world changed, how much darkness and mistrust came to the world, and the world does not want to call them out and say, we don't coexist with violence. If you don't have the capacity to separate between Islam and mosque, or between politics and religion, mosque and state, then we have a problem. In Europe, we separate between church and state. Most democracies follow this lead. So why don't we encourage the Muslims? I'm not saying that we need to fight with them, but we can at least help them evolve, integrate, follow the lead of humanity. And when I speak about this problem, I was born a Muslim. I went to a Sharia school. My father is Muslim Brotherhood, not only Hamas, the biggest Islamic movement in the world with more than 100 million active members. And all of them believe in violence. And I know their danger. This is why I speak against them. So what was the reaction of the world? I got canceled, I got labeled, I got framed, and they still attack my mission. What are we waiting for? More disasters to know that we are dealing with 7th century mentality? This is the 21st century. Religion should not have an absolute grip and decide the fate of humanity. What we witnessed on October 7th, that was not an assault against Israel. Hamas does not believe in nationalism to begin with. They don't believe in Palestine or the name of Palestine. This is what my father taught me since childhood. He said, we don't believe in political borders. But they use Palestine as a device. Why? Because it's more appealing than Islam. When ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Salafi jihadists, and other terrorist groups declared war on civilization, it was much easier for us to counter them, to deconstruct their operation. It was much easier. But we have been fighting against the Muslim Brotherhood for almost a century, and we cannot defeat them because they have totally different strategy. They built infrastructure, they built schools, they take on national causes like Palestine, like Afghanistan, like Kashmir. And the world is fooled. They say, yes, this is a legitimate resistance. All of a sudden, October 7 Berbers became legitimate and justified. In Gaza, there is only one crime. And the crime in Gaza is the use of human shields by their governing authority. And that's the responsibility of Hamas. On October 7, hundreds of war crimes had been committed. Each case is a war crime. And it's not measured by the head count. And of course, I can go on and on of how to discern the difference between the fight of a democracy that has been dragged into the most brutal and most complicated war of our time. There is no army in the world that is prepared for such scenario where terrorists hijack one of the most populated areas on earth and use their own children as human shields for global sympathy. The problem with the rest of the world don't understand martyrdom, shahada. Their concern is not in this life, it's in the other life. And unfortunately, what's supposed to be moderate Muslims are not taking stand to fight against extremism. And this is very suspicious to me, because it was also very strange that they celebrated on October 8th, they triumphed. They thought it was a victory. The biggest blow against Israel, against civilization, what they consider the enemy of Islam. They believe that the entire world, all the non-Muslims around that block, conspiring against Islam. And this is not the truth, as someone who has traveled the world. In fact, everybody is in denial, and they don't want to admit that the Muslims are a threat, while the Muslims believe that everybody is against. Totally inverted reality. So, October 7 is not the worst that could happen to humanity. They used lethal force on October 7. What's more dangerous if they grow in number and all of a sudden they infiltrate our governments? In Europe, when they become right now 20%, in France is a nuclear power. Sooner or later, we might have a Muslim president. And then the coup is going to be Muslim against Muslim. Same thing with the Palestinian Authority. The entire world bet their money, their effort on the Palestinian Authority, and Hamas took over Gaza in less than 24 hours. And today, the world wants to gamble again and give it to an aging system that's proving corrupt, without moral compass. And who guarantees that tomorrow is going to be another group? Maybe not Hamas, could be any other name. So, October 7 is only a test. The hostages is our test, and we betray them. And the world start comparing Jewish blood to the Muslim blood. Jews around the world, it's about 15 million people, a small minority. Muslims are 2 billion people. And when I see the moral decay within the Muslim population, when they see the slaughter of toddlers, the kidnapping of Holocaust survivors, of innocent civilians, that actually mostly they were pro-Palestine, they were pro-existence, pro-two-state solution. And they are the ones who paid the price. And we have betrayed. So, if we let this small minority, the Jewish people, with a great contribution, not because my friend is sitting here, and not because this is Israel, which sounds, could sound like propaganda. I am afraid if we betray the Jewish people after all the contribution to life, unconditional, sharing all the innovation, science, literature, morality, ethics, values with the rest of the world, then we punish them for that, for being successful, for the sake of the Muslim majority. This means that we are in deep trouble. I promise you that. Islam is not good news. And the same way humanity fought against Christianity. They did not say in the dark ages of Europe, when the priests used to burn scientists to death, they did not say radical Christianity versus moderate Christianity. They said we don't want Christianity controlling our lives, period. And we are in the same place right now. And I myself, by the way, in Christ's consciousness. So I have the authority to even criticize Christianity, criticize religion. But when it comes to Islam, this is a different story, and we are living now the dark ages. If we allow them to spread, to get legitimacy, to justify their actions, tomorrow there's going to be another cause. And by the way, look, you bring their holy scripture, some crazy guy would burn it, set it on fire, and the entire Muslim world would boycott governments and demonstrate the streets and project hatred against the world. And we tell them this is not the fault of governments and societies. It was the fault of an ignorant person. Why are you punishing everybody for that thing? It's very hard to rationalize with. The more we show them weakness, and in fact, in this case, the more we show tolerance is going to be perceived as weakness, and it will ignite their bloodlust. This is my concern. When people live subconsciously at the level of even animal, was on a higher level, then let them smell a little bit of blood and see their reaction. We don't want this to be repeated anywhere, in any country, to any nation. Humanity depends on each other. We live in a dependent existence. We are all the same. And by the way, including the Hamas terrorists, they still belong to the human family. I'm not here to incite against certain group. But when we have those who live in separation and they forgot that we are all one family under the sun, and we are all children of life, children of earth, then we must take extreme measures, even if it means eliminating some humans. Hamas, after what they did, not only on October 7th, what they've been doing for the past 36 years, they don't have equal rights to decent citizens who were kidnapped from their households. When they woke up that morning, along with their children, nobody has that right. And those who think that they have the authority to do whatever they want, we must stand united against their aggression. I'm not here to incite against Muslims, against Islam. I'm just pointing out what I have been through. And I hope that no one, whether if it's in the Far East or in the West, that has to endure what I have to witness, what I have to go through. I know I may not answer your question, but these words really needed to come out. Because I know many people here representing many nations, and I want them to understand that I've been to many of those countries. I have friends everywhere. And I cannot fathom that these people will at some point have to live the darkness of barbarism. I want it to stop now. I want humanity to get united behind Israel in this fight, because if we prove them wrong and we tell them that jihad is a dead end, whether you practice jihad against Jews, against Buddhists, against Hindus, against Christians, it doesn't matter. We are all united and we all believe in diversity. Muslims have the right to exist. We don't have a problem with that if they want to be devoted to their God, but don't make it into a political movement. Don't intimidate the rest of the world. This is not acceptable, because the universal design depends on diversity. Thank you for listening, and please forgive me for mischanded.
Dan, if terror and violence are perceived to yield concessions or diplomatic leverage, as we're seeing several Western countries now rushing to recognize a Palestinian state while the war still rages on and 50 hostages are still held in Hamas tunnels, that sets a very dangerous precedent, not just for Israel, but the entire globe.
I think, Mosab, you answered so many questions in one fell swoop. I want to just embrace in answering this question, because we stand before a very critical moment, ladies and gentlemen, very critical. And what Mosab said, that this is not a diatribe against Islam per se, or against Muslims or people of other faiths, Christians. It was a specific personal experience coming out of the depths and the profound, dramatic, particular lived experience that Mosab knows and is helping us to understand. This is a critical moment. Within 30 days, according to the July 27th to the July 29th co-sponsored initiative by France and the Saudis, the entire European Union, and another 17 nations, there is the prospect of the recognition of a Palestinian state. Now, this provides a tremendous moral, strategic, and security challenge to everybody in this room. Because, for two reasons. One, because if we wanted to give a prize for the Al-Aqsa flood invasion, mass murder, mass rape, and mass kidnapping of nationals from 20 countries, most of them in this room, besides those in southern Israel who are Israeli nationals, the prize to Hamas would be the recognition of a Palestinian state. Because the message that conveys, dear friends, is that mass murder, invasion, kidnapping, rape, and torture pays. Does anybody in this room think that the Palestinian Authority, as it is constructed, would lead that state? Or do we want to listen to the Palestinian public? Are we aware of the recent Palestinian polling regarding the Palestinian Authority? The recent polling shows that between 86 and 90%, and that is the polling of Dr. Shkaki, would vote out Mahmoud Abbas, and a majority of the Palestinian public would vote the Hamas in once again, as they did in 2006. And we are talking about a Palestinian state overlooking where we are sitting today, 4,200 feet above sea level in the hills of Judea and Samaria, known as the former West Bank of Jordan. In other words, we are talking about, in the aftermath of the worst massacre in modern political history in 24 hours since the Second World War in the Nazi period, establishing a second Palestinian terrorist state overlooking Ben Gurion Airport and this hotel. I wonder who in his or her right mind would allow that in his or her country following the events of October 7, 2023, and as they continue today. The second issue is that if we were to allow, as Sarah asked in her question, and Mosab helped us understand in terms of the cultural, perceptual issue, it will unleash an unprecedented wave of terrorism against countries around the world. The next 9/11, never mind the next 10/7, the next 9/11, the next 7/7, the next terror attack against Madrid, God forbid, because it will tell Hamas fellow travelers that murder pays, terror pays. The second issue, and with this I'll end this particular comment, is that, and I really make this point a lot with friends and colleagues on television in the foreign discourse. The misunderstanding, dear friends, is that the Hamas invasion, massacre, kidnapping is part of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. It is not. We are not in the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. We are facing, from the point of view of Hamas, jihad, which is, as they say in the Western press, the never-ending war that they think Israel can end unilaterally. No, the never-ending war is the misuse of Islam, is Islamic warfare, is jihad. That is the never-ending war. So by creating or supporting the establishment of a Palestinian state in these conditions, we are guaranteeing that the forever war will last forever. There is a great opportunity, ladies and gentlemen. We are hearing the voices of Arab leaders in the West Bank. You may have read the far-reaching article in the Wall Street Journal just a few weeks ago that has been repeated in some of the major papers and the major dailies in your countries about the voices of local leaders in the West Bank, Judea and Samaria, who are actually responsible to their own publics, to their well-being, to their security, to their economic well-being. And those voices are growing louder and louder and louder. And they say, we do not want to be dominated by what they call in Arabic, the Palestinian Authority mafia. They want their own liberty, their own self-determination, their own approach to society to protect those city by city, neighborhood by neighborhood, village by village. This is the structure of the Middle East. We cannot impose a foreign structure on the Middle East. We know that the Middle East is established through families, clans, and tribes. That's the way it is. It's not a commentary on the region. It's the region speaking for itself. So I leave that thought with you and ask you to help support an alternative, because if there is to be voted in the General Assembly a widespread support for a Palestinian state in the aftermath of October 7th mass murder, rape, torture, and kidnapping, it's going to be a very dark period for the international community, not only Israel. So we ask that we think about that in this question.
Please. Okay. Or many governments are going to look very ridiculous because the reality on the ground, and we cannot reveal everything right now, it's shifting against the Palestinian Authority interest. We don't like them. Before they came to Ramallah, everything was okay. Before the first Intifada, when Yasser Arafat from Tunisia, from his luxury mansions, sent children to die on the checkpoints, masked men used to come to our schools and force us to go to the checkpoints. Yasser Arafat wanted children to die. This is a Palestinian strategy. And everything went into chaos. Prior to the first Intifada, we used to come here to the beach, drive our car. We did not have a checkpoint. There was no fence. There was no wall. We dined here. We came to Jaffa. We went everywhere. Everything was fine. Jewish families used to come to our house. I remember my father, a Hamas leader, serving Jewish families food, our traditional dishes. We were able to build bridges. But somehow, these criminals, what's so-called PLO, they're not concerned of the average people who are living in the West Bank. They're not concerned. They're concerned of the global game. And the more the world gives them legitimacy, funds, the more aggressive they become. This is their game. And of course, I understand your position that you need a representative of the Palestinian people in order to find a solution. That's understandable. But the question, are they actually a legitimate representative of the Arabs in Judea and Samaria? I don't think so. And sooner or later, you will see that there is an alternative that is rising. That is strong. And you can go ahead and recognize a Palestinian state. Then you may be surprised with something else that is going to be maybe the Arab Federation or an emirate that is answering the needs of the majority of the people. And I am sure it's in Israel's interest to support what the Arabs in the West Bank actually need. Do they need a sovereign state where we will have to fit two elephants in the eye of a needle? You see how small the country, from the sea to the Jordanian Valley, you can cross the entire region in 2 minutes by airplane. Where can we fit two sovereign states? Reality on the ground is different. So the world can try to force Israel to recognize a Palestinian state. It's not going to happen because to Israel, it's a matter of security. And the Jordanian Valley functions as a defense line. So I know from experience, Israel is not going to submit to the global pressure, even if it means sanctions from everybody.
So take that in consideration. So what's the point? Especially if this is not answering the needs of the Arabs who are in the West Bank. This is what the Arabs in the West Bank, and I include myself, we are not Palestinians. Our ethnicity, we are Arabs. What we need economy, we need peace and cooperation with our cousins. We are Semites. The Jewish people are Semites, we are cousins. We belong to the same father, to the same family. And we were able to coexist before the Muslim Brotherhood, before the PLO, and all these corrupt entities came to control our lives, steal our money, shed our blood, and label us as a violent political movement, which is not us. So please don't invest your energy, at least for the next year, until things become clearer after we remove Hamas from power, to see what actually the Arabs in the West Bank and in the Gaza, what they want. Maybe there is a much better solution that is going to lead the region to peace rather than crazy ideas that will lead to more division and to more bloodshed.
I'd like to thank our exceptional panel, Luis, Mosab, Dan. And we'd now like to open the floor for questions from the audience.
It's like, you all is very, not only interesting, it's really touching, and it's significant. Mosab, I met you. My name is Hannah Beresani, one of the veteran correspondents for Spanish outlets in Israel. I met you many years ago in your house, your home in Tia. I interviewed your dad after one of the camps he was released from prison. And I remember when I saw you, I thought, this guy doesn't look Hamas. I don't know, it was a prediction of you. Well, I would like to. Yeah. Thanks for your courage, really. I wonder, Mosab, there's one of the discussions of many among us, the Israelis, about the message being conveyed by the families of the hostages in these nationwide protests. One of the positions, without going into Israeli politics, one of the positions says that it's unavoidable that they go out and protest for the nightmare in which they have been living for so long. But there is a position saying that this strengthens Hamas, that all the pressure should be directed openly against Qatar, against Hamas, a cry for the world to pressure Hamas. What's your opinion about that? Thank you.
The situation is inconvenient to the politicians, to the government, because the government is trying everything within their ability to bring the hostages, but it's not only about the hostages. It's also it's an existential fight. It's about proving terrorists wrong and remove them from power so we don't have to deal with this vicious cycle for eternity. But in my opinion, this shows a real model of democracy, demonstrated in the most difficult times of a nation, where the government, knowingly that such protests will give Hamas a lifeline, because it makes Hamas believe that there is a possibility of division within the ranks of the enemy and possibly the collapse of the government. This is how they see it. And they think that they are progressing. This is why they spread their psychological warfare in order to break the nation. The government, the security agencies are aware of this problem. People are emotional, they're vulnerable. It's a very difficult situation for everyone. And when the people direct their hatred and their frustration against the government that is working around the clock to save the hostages, it's very frustrating and it's very dangerous for any government. But how the Israeli government deal with the situation, it shows a real practice of democracy in the most difficult times. And this is why I love Israel very much. Show me the protest on the other side. Many countries in a situation like this, they may repress the public. And I'm very, very proud of how Israel is handling the situation, even though it has been perceived by Israel's enemy as an advantage, as a crack that they can work on. But on the long term, this is healthy. This shows strength. It shows the power of a diverse nation that is not afraid to criticize even in the most difficult times.
Thank you very much. Robert, I'm from the Embassy of Estonia. So the last part of the discussion was really interesting because you covered you called upon the countries not to recognize the state of Palestine, and you mentioned that there's maybe something else, the more important that the Palestinians and Israelis need. It's a peace and cooperation with the neighboring countries. So because Estonia is also part of the European Union, and we also have the same discussion now going on in our country, I'm naturally curious. It would be interesting to hear your perspective. What's the alternative to recognition of Palestine, or maybe to going forward with this idea? What's the alternative to the, let's go general, to the solution of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, let's say? Because we can argue, and it's that the purpose of recognition is not that about rewarding the terrorist actions, of course, which is despicable, but it's more about pressurizing Israel into trying to solve the war and the war going on in Gaza. It's a matter of debate how much it will actually, or it might, influence Israel or influence its actions in Gaza. But the question is what to do if not to pressurize or if not to recognize the state of Palestine. Is there any other alternative, better one that we should consider? Thank you.
Sure. Sorry, guys, I'm taking the mic. As you see, I love to speak. Yes, there is an alternative. And this is what I'm talking about. Things that I cannot reveal completely. But an Arab Federation makes a lot more sense to me. What do we want to do with the political borders and a sovereign state and an army? And this is not beneficial to the people. Actually, my attempt is to, if possible, to burn the political borders eventually. We are in 21st century, and it looks like we're going backwards. What do I want to do with another Arab state? Arabs had the opportunity back in 1948, for those who understand the history. Then they rejected coexistence. They rejected Israel's right to exist. They have been in denial. And after 77 years of warring, reality on the ground changed. Reality on the ground changed since I was born. And I told you my personal experience as a child. We did not have this problem. Nobody thought of building any walls or any fences. So now the reality on the ground is different. We have hundreds of thousands of Israeli citizens who are in the West Bank. From my perspective, the Jewish depth is in the West Bank. It's in Jerusalem. It's where the temple, the ruins of the Jewish kingdoms, which all of us can witness. And the Arabs rejected. Israel gave them the opportunity. Okay, part of the land, establish your state. But instead they invaded. Not only one war, 7 major wars. After losing multiple times, why the world is blaming Israel for controlling the West Bank? It was the outcome of the Arab defeat, the outcome of the Arab aggression that did not want to reconcile. So with that said, I'm very realistic. Why do I want to dismantle and displace hundreds of thousands of people who were born now in Judea and Samaria? And I think that this is a solution, especially after seeing the Israeli government under Ariel Sharon displacing all the Israeli citizens from Gaza, giving it to Mahmoud Abbas or giving it to Yasser Arafat, which eventually led to control by Hamas. This is a very dangerous risk. It's a very, very big price, and the outcome is going to be about the same. What I would like for my people, the Arabians, I would like for them to build bridges with Israel. Forget about political borders. If it was up to me, I give Israel the security, I give Israel the economy, I let Israel lead. And I would learn from Israel, I would learn from the Jewish people how to actually thrive, how to prosper. I don't have a problem with that. I don't know why the Arabs feel ashamed of building bridges with their cousins. Especially us today. We were born in this land. It's our birthright to be here. And I am not canceling the birthright of the Arabs to actually live and thrive and prosper. So how can we do that? I prefer to my people economy, education, infrastructure, cooperation with Israel, and to begin building bridges as soon as possible. The state illusion, this is not going to lead to guarantee prosperity, especially with this mentality that is going after Israel on a global campaign to delegitimize Israel, while what so-called Palestinians don't have legitimacy. It's a colonial entity, pretending around the world that they are the indigenous of the land, fighting against colonizers. Well, your very identity is a colonial identity. At least when they say Israel, we know Israel is 3,000 years old, and the Palestinian movement is less than 70 years old. So this hypocrisy, this attack on Israel, trying to delegitimize Israel, I don't understand how this is going to lead to peace. I don't want political borders. I want to give Israel the security, and I would like from the rest of the world to give our people economy. And this is what will guarantee creating a new generation and cut the way on all those opportunists who use the name Palestine as a device to harm Arabs and Jews. It's as simple as that, and I think it is possible, and by the name of existence, we are going to manifest, whether the world like it or not, because it's our problem, and we don't take orders from any external entity. I will not allow the next generation to continue in this vicious cycle for eternity. Enough is enough. I don't want Palestine. I don't care about Palestine. Palestine is not going to guarantee the security and the future of children. But honest leadership that is concerned of building a nation and a new generation, this is what we need at the time being. And let's, by the way, have it as transitional period. And I am sure for the next 10 years, if we work hard, united, to help the Arabs in Judea and Samaria, I am sure that we are going to create a real difference. Then after that, if they still insist on having their own state, then we may discuss it if they have dropped their violence. But as of now, and as long as they are pointing their guns, not only their guns and their propaganda, to demonize, dehumanize, and delegitimize Israel around the globe, this is not the way towards peace, in my opinion.
I'd like to leave you with a positive message to the ambassador. I think it's an excellent question. The Jerusalem Center for Security and Foreign Affairs, and I would venture to say, of course, every Israeli government, left, center, center-right, including the current government, is in desperate search for peace. We care very much about our Palestinian Arab neighbors in the West Bank, Judea, and Samaria. And, as you know, 1,900,000 tons of food have been passed into Gaza by Israel. That is an expression of that we care for our neighbors in Gaza as well. There are other solutions which we cannot detail right now, but they're being worked on, to a Western concept of a Palestinian state. Let's remember, President Trump, about just weeks ago, said to President al-Shara, I'm putting you on notice. And I can even share with you that the president took a big risk by not insisting on sanctions that would be released every 6 months against the new Syrian state centralized, powerful, full control. And what happened? What happened in Soweto when a president by the name of al-Shara received an embrace from the commander of the free world, from the president of the free world? We saw one of the worst massacres and thousands of people in the worst atrocities. Forget Israel. Forget Judea and Samaria. Forget Gaza. Look what happened in Soweto. This is the challenge of more centralized structures in the Middle East. What has happened in Iraq? Who controls the Iraqi parliament, ladies and gentlemen? We all know the Islamic Republic of Iran controls the parliament in Iraq. And Iraq is a federal structure. Shia in the south, Sunni in the central, Iraqi Kurds in the north. It is a natural structure for the Middle East to have federalism, even though it's an American, originally an American idea as the federal republic. So I say that and end with a wonderful thing happened in 2020. The Abraham Accords. Look what happened in 2020. The leader of the Arab Muslim world, His Excellency, His Majesty, Mohammed bin Salman, has a vision for the Middle East. It's called Vision 2030. And he and President Trump and the rest of the Gulf celebrated that vision just a few months ago in one of the most consequential visits of an American president, or maybe the most in the history of the modern Middle East. And until then, it had been known, and as Mosab pointed out, that the Palestinian issue is not the key to peace in the Middle East. It is the key to its own future, but that the Arab Muslim world, the United Arab Emirates, with the blessings of Saudi Arabia and His Majesty Mohammed bin Salman, the Bahrainis, the Moroccans, and even the Sudanese. Remember the 3 no's of 1967? There are the 3 yeses of 2020. The 4 yeses. Yes to normalization, yes to peace, yes to negotiation, and yes to recognizing Israel. It means that there is a major opportunity in this region. And our Palestinian neighbors have to make a decision. Are they going to join the circle of peace? Will they expand the circle of peace? Or will they find themselves, as they did in 2017, outside? When the Palestinian Authority, if you remember, they boycotted every member of the Abraham Accords, boycotted them, refused to allow them to pray on the Temple Mount, in Al-Aqsa, in Haram al-Sharif, in the third holiest site to Islam. They prevented them. They boycotted them. That's BDS. BDS against the leaders of the Arab Muslim world. So my point is, federal structures work in the Middle East. The Abraham Accord is our vision. Peace is our hope. And we have to be mindful of the security of our children as we move towards the vision that His Excellency, His Majesty Mohammed bin Salman has laid out. Israel is completely supportive of that vision, of what Abraham, the father of all of us, had laid out 5,000 years ago, and we submit to that, and we subscribe to that vision. So I hope that leaves us with a moment of optimism, because this region can be a fantastic example for the world. And I know that's what Mohammed bin Salman's vision is for this region, to be a global leader of technology, a global leader of transportation, of infrastructure, of health, of education. But let us not get caught up in the minutia of whether there will be a Palestinian state or not a Palestinian state, because the region is moving forward, and we invite our Palestinian neighbors to join that circle of peace and the positive hope for our future, for all of our children. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for taking part in this vital.
One question.
One more question.
Thank you so much. Thank you. My question is for Mosab. My name is Emily Budbal. I'm writing an article for JNS. And I wanted to ask you for my article, what you touched upon that many times, but I wanted to, if you could reiterate, what is the most important element that the West doesn't understand about Hamas? And do you believe that the destruction of Hamas is key to reach peace?
I'll be brief. I know everybody is probably tired. Sorry we kept you for a long morning. What people don't understand is not only the West, it's the West and the East. How can people understand this death culture? It's beyond understanding that some people are willing to sacrifice human life for political gain, worse, for financial gain. And I'm a living example. When my father had to choose between his oldest son and the cause, he chose the cause. He lost his sight. Hamas lost their sight, that they are fighting supposedly on behalf of the children. What type of state you want to build that does not have children in it, that you don't have regard, knowing that you open an assault against Israel? You know that Israel is not going to stay silent. You take the hostages knowing that Israel will have to come into the most populated area to rescue the hostages. This means civilian casualty. Hamas understood all this, and they still did it anyway. Why? Because their strategy is to weaponize civilians. This is not only Hamas, it's a culture. It's the Muslim Brotherhood, and I don't want to generalize more. So some of you don't discredit me. This is something beyond any other culture. If I was in a situation where my enemies came into my household and I knew by resisting or by shooting at them I'm going to harm my children, I prefer to surrender immediately. There is no parent in the world would go in a fight that is going to put their own children in harm's way. Hamas did the opposite. They went and they invited Israel. They dragged Israel in the most brutal fight in our time, knowing that children will pay the price. This shows you their hypocrisy. They claim to care for the people. They claim to care for the children. And it's the same game also with the pro-Palestine worldwide, that everybody is crying for the children. On one hand, they are pushing the Palestinian indoctrination, which lead to the death of children. Then when the children die, they come to blame Israel. This is so twisted. This must be understood, the death culture. Weaponizing civilian, sacrificing children for political and financial gain. If we are able to make this connection, then we can see things a lot more clearer. Hamas is not trustworthy. The Muslim Brotherhood is not trustworthy. And anyone who identifies as a Muslim in the political world, trying to mix faith and politics, these are not also trustworthy people. We must separate mosque and politics. We must focus on the future of the children, even if it means that we are going to upset many leaders. So I hope this would be understood. Was this the final question? Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here. God bless.
We intend to have these types of assemblies and meetings and breakfasts. I thought the breakfast was actually pretty good in this side. And we'll have more of those. And we like to do this on a regular basis, which we did from some years back, and we're recreating it. We will handle all of the key questions and the hottest issues facing all of us on a regular basis. So I'm sure that your information is with our team. Please make sure that we will exchange cards, our team, and we'd love to have you as part of our family to ask the right questions and to answer the tough questions. And we deeply appreciate meeting together this morning. Thank you ever so much. And please be in touch with us directly to answer questions as we go forward in this dramatic region at a dramatic time. Thank you ever so much. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Sarah Martinez. Thank you, Sarah Martinez.